Hello, today's readings and devotional is for Saturday, January the 17th. And when I was going through looking for a devotional for the day, I intentionally wanted to look at Bible verses that are different from just kind of growing up, even though I've had Bibles that are include more historically, that include things that are considered the Apocrypha or parts of the Catholic Church or Hebrew Bibles. I've never really looked at those parts that are different or not in other versions of Bibles that I've had. And so for this day, I decided to read a chapter from Second Esdras. And Esdras in the Greek, the first and second Esdras in the original text actually comprise most of Ezra and Nehemiah in the versions of the Bible that you likely have. And I just happened to stop on the second Esdras chapter 9, which I wasn't quite able to find within Ezra and Nehemiah, so I'm not sure if this part was lost or just difficult to find and is there within Ezra and Nehemiah. But again, this comes from second Esdras, Esdras, if you'd like to look that up, chapter 9. And so I'm just going to read from the screen since I have that. He answered me and said, "Measure carefully in your mind, and when you see that some of the predicted signs have occurred, then you will know that it is the very time when the Most High is about to visit the world that he has made. So when there shall appear in the world earthquakes, tumult of people, intrigues of nations, wavering of leaders, confusion of princes, then you will know that it was of these that the Most High spoke from the days that were of old, from the beginning. For just as with everything that has occurred in the world, the beginning is evident, and the end is manifest, so also are the times of the Most High. The beginnings are manifest in wonders and mighty works, and the end in penalties and in signs. It shall be that all who will be saved and will be able to escape on account of their works, or on account of the faith by which they have believed, will survive the dangers that have been predicted, and will see my salvation in my land and within my borders, which I have sanctified for myself from the beginning. Then those who have now abused my ways shall be amazed, for those who have rejected them with contempt shall live in torments. But as many as did not acknowledge me in their lifetime, though they received my benefits, and as many as scorned my law while they still had freedom, and did not understand but despised it, while an opportunity of repentance was still open to them, these must in torment acknowledge it after death. Therefore, do not continue to be curious about how the ungodly will be punished, but inquire how the righteous will be saved, those to whom the age belongs, and for whose sake the age was made." I answered and said, "I said before, and I say now, and I will say it again, there are more who perish than those who will be saved, as a wave is greater than a drop of water." He answered me and said, "As in the field, so is the seed, and as are the flowers, so are the colors, and as is the work, so is the product, and as is the farmer, so is the threshing floor. For there was a time in this age when I was preparing for those who now exist, before the world was made for them to live in, and no one opposed me then, for no one existed. But now those who have been created in the world, which is supplied both with an unfailing table and an inexhaustible pasture, have become corrupt in their ways. So I considered my world, and saw that it was lost. I saw that my earth was in peril because of the devices of those who had come into it. And I saw and spared some with great difficulty, and saved for myself one grape out of a cluster, and one plant out of a great forest. So let the multitude perish that have been born in vain, but let my grape and my plant be saved, because with much labor I have perfected them. Now, if you will let 7 days more pass, do not, however, fast during them, but go into the field of flowers where no house has been built, and eat only of flowers of the field, and taste no meat and drink no wine, but eat only flowers, and pray to the Most High continually. Then I will come talk with you." So I went, as he directed me, into the field that is called Ardat. There I sat among the flowers, and ate of the plants of the field, and the nourishment they afforded satisfied me. After 7 days, while I lay on the grass, my heart was troubled again, as it was before. Then my mouth was opened, and I began to speak before the Most High, and said, O Lord, you showed yourself among us to our ancestors in the wilderness when they came out of Egypt, and when they came into the untrodden and unfruitful wilderness. And you said, Hear me, O Israel, and give heed to my words, O descendants of Jacob. For I sow my law in you, and it shall bring forth fruit in you, and you shall be glorified through it forever. But though our ancestors received the law, they did not keep it and did not observe their statutes. Yet the fruit of the law did not perish, for it could not, because it was yours. Yet those who received it perished, because they did not keep what had been sown in them. Now this is the general rule, that when the ground has received seed, or the sea a ship, or any dish food or drink, and when it comes about that what was sown, or what was launched, or what was put in is destroyed, they are destroyed. But the things that held them remain. Yet with us it has not been so. For those who have received the law and sinned will perish, as well as our hearts that received it. The law, however, does not perish, but survives in its glory. When I said these things in my heart, I looked around, and on my right I saw a woman. She was mourning and weeping with a loud voice, and was deeply grieved at heart. Her clothes were torn, and there were ashes on her head. Then I dismissed the thoughts with which I had been engaged, and turned to her and said to her, Why are you weeping, and why are you grieved at heart? She said to me, Let me alone, my lord, so that I may weep for myself and continue to mourn, for I am greatly embittered in spirit and deeply distressed. I said to her, What happened to you? Tell me. And she said to me, Your servant was barren and had no child, though I lived with my husband for 30 years. Every hour and every day during those 30 years I prayed to the Most High night and day. And after 30 years God heard your servant, and looked upon my low estate, and considered my distress, and gave me a son. I rejoiced over him, I and my husband, and all my neighbors, and we gave great glory to the Mighty One. And I brought him up with much care. So when he grew up, I came to take wife for him. I set a day for the marriage feast. But it happened that when our son entered his wedding chamber, he fell down and died. So all of us put on our lamps, and all my neighbors attempted to console me. I remained quiet until the evening of the second day. But when all of them had stopped consoling me, encouraging me to be quiet, I got up in the night and fled, and I came to this field, as you see. And now I intend not to return to the town, but to stay here. I will neither eat nor drink, but mourn and fast continually until I die. I broke off the reflections with which I was still engaged, and answering her, and said, You most foolish of women, do you not see our mourning and what has happened to us? For Zion, the mother of us all, is in deep grief and great distress. It is most appropriate to mourn now, because we are all mourning, and to be sorrowful, because we are all sorrowing. You are sorrowing for one son, but we the whole world for our mother. Now ask the earth, and she will tell you that it is she who ought to mourn over so many who have come into being on her. From the beginning all have been born on her, and others will come, and lo, almost all go to perdition, and a multitude of them will come to doom. Who then ought to mourn the more? She who lost a great multitude, or you who are grieving for one? But if you say to me, My lamentation is not like the earth's, for I have lost the fruit of my womb, which I brought forth in pain and bore in sorrow, but it is with the earth according to the way of the earth, the multitude that is now in goes as it came. Then I say to you, As she brought forth in sorrow, so the earth also has from the beginning given her fruit, that is humankind, to him who made her. Now therefore keep your sorrow to yourself, and bear bravely the troubles that have come upon you. For acknowledge the decree of God to be just. You will receive your son back in due time, and you will be praised among women. Therefore go into town to your husband. She said to me, I will not do so. I will not go into the city, but I will die here. So I spoke again and said, Do not do that, but let yourself be persuaded. For how many are the adversities of Zion? Be consoled because of the sorrow of Jerusalem. For you see how our sanctuary has been laid waste, our altar thrown down, our temple destroyed, our harp has been laid low, our song has been silenced, and our rejoicing has ended. The light of our lampstand has been put out, the ark of our covenant has been plundered, our holy things have been polluted, and the name of which we are called has been almost profaned. Our children have suffered abuse, our priests have been burned to death, Our Levites have gone into exile, our virgins have been defiled, and our wives have been ravished. Our righteous men have been carried off, our little ones have been cast out, our young men have been enslaved, and our strong men made powerless. And worst of all, the seal of Zion has been deprived of its glory and given over the hands to those that hate us. Therefore shake off your great sadness and lay aside your many sorrows, so that the Mighty One may be merciful to you again, and the Most High may give you rest, a respite from your troubles. While I was talking to her, her face suddenly began to shine exceedingly. Her countenance flashed like lightning, so that I was too frightened to approach her, and my heart was terrified. While I was wondering what this meant, she suddenly uttered a loud and fearful cry, so that the earth shook at the sound. When I looked up, the woman was no longer visible to me, but a city was being built, and a place of huge foundations showed itself. I was afraid, and cried with a loud voice, and said, "Where is the angel Uriel, who came to me at first? For it was he who brought me into this overpowering bewilderment. My end has become corruption, and my prayer a reproach." While I was speaking these words, the angels who had come to me at first came to me, and when he saw me lying there like a corpse, deprived of my understanding, he grasped my right hand and strengthened me, and set me on my feet. He said to me, "What is the matter with you, and why are you troubled? And why are you understanding and why are your understanding and the thoughts of your mind troubled?" I said, "It was because you abandoned me. I did as you directed and went out into the field, and lo, what I have seen and can still me I am unable to explain." He said, "Speak up like a man, and I will instruct you. Listen to me, I will teach you and tell you about the things that you fear, for the Most High has revealed many secrets to you. He has seen your righteous conduct, and that you have sorrowed continually for your people. This, therefore, is the meaning of the vision. The woman who appeared to you a little while ago, whom you saw mourning, and whom you began to console, and who told you about the misfortune of her son, this is an interpretation. The woman who you saw is Zion, which you now behold as a city being built. And as for her telling you that she was barren for 30 years, the reason is that there were 3,000 years in the world before any offering was offered in it. And after 3,000 years Solomon built the city and offered offerings. Then it was that the barren woman bore a son. And as for you telling her that she brought him up with much care, this was the period of residence in Jerusalem. And as for her saying to you, my son died, entered his wedding chamber, that is the misfortune, this was a destruction that befell Jerusalem. So you saw her likeness, how she mourned for her son, and you began to console her for what happened. For now the Most High, seeing that you are sincerely grieved and profoundly distressed for her, has shown you the brilliance of her glory and the loveliness of her beauty. Therefore I told you to remain in the field, for I knew that the Most High would reveal these things to you. Therefore I told you to go into the field where there is no foundation of any building, because no work of human construction could endure in a place where the city of the Most High is to be revealed. So there's a lot within these couple of chapters, but just a few of the reflections that I take from this. First was the sign of the ends and the trials and tribulations. Those, of course, sound like have come for many times, and thinking about the end times and contextuals of what end might mean both for these people, but then and for us, and what can we do in faith to help change that, and going and hearing more about the story, and then this woman that comes and the attempts to console, and what seemed to actually console was an understanding that the suffering of others, and taking steps not to just lay down and die in that suffering, but to do something to try to improve that, and despite all the injustice that was suffered. And then the angel comes back and shares that because you genuinely try to console, and you have seen all that is going on, and we're rebuilding from here, we're doing something about the injustice. And so what I liken this to is, thinking about in the New Testament, of course, with Jesus and coming, and there's still suffering all throughout the Old Testament, New Testament, and in our current lives, but the way that we have a rebuilding through Christ and what he has came to do, in that he fills us with joy and love and peace despite that suffering, and the rebuilding of Jerusalem, and how in our own suffering or the own injustices that we might view within the world, that we don't have to try to necessarily take those on, but we can try to comfort and ameliorate those by offering what Jesus did, which was love and kindness and joy. And in reflecting on this back in January, it helped me come to more of the realizations of being able to provide love and kindness and joy to myself and to the world, and those concerns about competence or anxiety, again realizing that those just aren't true, and that I am able to bring that goodness in a different definition that isn't focused so much on right, and it is more focused on the Holy Spirit and service and kindness, and showing that to others, and forgiving others and myself the same way is, will bring God's spirit and light to myself and to others. So I hope that it was helpful just to hear something that was unique to me, and as I read it, and just some of the different things that can be taken from it, and hope to continue enjoying these daily meetings with you.